Hey guys, welcome to my first YouTube video ever. In this video, we'll be looking at why English is so hard to spell. So, we have all heard many complaints about English orthography, and everyone who speaks English, native or otherwise, has their own opinion on what the most absurd aspect of writing English is. Some people say it's all the silent letters, while some get confused by the vowels changing too much, then others have their own reasons, and there are an infinite number of them. Any of these complaints can be examined in three main reasons for the modern difficulty of English spelling. The first reason partially answers the people who are frustrated about morphing vowels. It's just that English is a reductive language. In reductive languages, the pronunciation of the vowels changes depending on whether the vowel is stressed or not. Think about the sarcastic phrase, "You're putting the emphasis on the wrong syllable." Let's examine the A's in the middle syllables of the words that were corrupted to add humor to the phrase. In the wrong pronunciation, the A's get stressed and are pronounced as "a." However, when those two words are pronounced correctly, the A's actually sound like This is because the vowel is not stressed, therefore it has a different, lazier pronunciation than how elementary school textbooks say it's pronounced. The exact rules governing the process of vowel reduction vary depending on the language, but how they work in English is that all unstressed vowels get reduced to except for E and O phonemes when they're the last vowel in a word. For some examples of this, island and repeat have their unstressed syllables reduced to while in the words happy and city, the E at the end of each word retains its full value and is still pronounced E. The reason this upsets the writing of English, as well as that of any other reductive language, is that native speakers don't really see the reduced vowels any differently than they see stressed vowels, and so don't write them with a different character. In fact, native speakers don't even realize that they're doing it. Some of y'all have probably just discovered the concept of reduction by watching this video. Now y'all are going to spend the rest of the video listening to how I pronounce multisyllabic words. In the case of non-native English speakers, stress and reduction aren't something that's taught about in foreign language classes at schools and is just a generally overlooked concept. As for how to represent reduction in English orthography while making it easier to read and spell, this could be considered a lost cause for the aforementioned reason of how native speakers view or don't view reduced vowels. Luckily, this is the least significant of the three reasons English is so hard to spell. The second reason for English being hard on the pen is that the Latin writing system doesn't fit well for English. One of the beauties of linguistics is how well a writing system fits its language when the writing system was made by its speakers specifically for the language it represents. You'll hear a lot about this in future videos. English, however, is a huge exception. The Latin script was designed specifically to be used for Latin. A feature of spoken Latin is that it had 5 vowels, a, e, I, o, and u. And therefore the Latin script got 5 vowels, a, e, I, o, and v, which would later have become u to distinguish it from the consonant sound v. There's a link in the description if you want to learn more about how the Latin script and our alphabet formed. The issue is that, while the 5-vowel alphabet works very well for most Romance languages that actually have 5 vowels, English is a Germanic language. And a feature of Germanic languages is that they have a lot of vowels. Depending on whether you want to count double vowels, English has either 12 or 14 of them. They are a, e, I, a, o, u. And the double vowels are ow and I. This makes it really hard for the Latin alphabet to represent all of the English vowels without overlapping, and it completely fails. Now, I'm not saying that it's impossible for alphabet to represent Germanic languages. For example, Swedish has 9 vowels and modified the Latin script to have 9 vowel characters. Swedish has its own problems with insufficient consonants. However, the English scholars who decided to standardize written English took a huge L at this with all of English's written diphthongs, but the most absurd result of this standardization was English's long and short vowels. No, not like Arabic has where the vowels are literally long or short. This is some English BS where a long vowel is said like its own name and a short vowel is said some other way. There's a possibility they needed some excuse to be more like the French, as was a common desire among the English elite for a very long time, so they gave the vowels multiple sounds to represent and used the silent E to distinguish. French has silent E's. But seriously, that causes nightmares today, as well as only 79% of adults in the United States being able to read above the 5th grade level, according to Huffington Post. How would we solve this? We could always invent a new alphabet tailored to fit English by having 12 to 14 vowel characters with 23 consonant characters to represent the consonants that English has. I actually did that once because it was an uneventful Saturday night and I felt inspired. Unfortunately, I lost that paper a long time ago, so I can't put a picture of it on this video, and it's not like I'm nailing it on the Department of Education's front door anytime soon, but it did have 23 consonants and 14 vowels, totaling 37 letters. There's also the option of adding a lot of diacritics to English vowels to indicate their pronunciation, but if we kept the spellings of the base letters the same, it would be a disaster. Which leads us perfectly into the third and biggest reason for English being so hard to spell. the spellings we use are simply outdated. There isn't a specific year in history for when English spelling became originally standardized, but it's generally agreed that it happened sometime in the 17th century. Outside of America, that is. America is slightly better, as American spelling was standardized in 1806, when Noah Webster published his dictionary. However, Webster only made minimal changes to British English, the three most noticeable of which were that he changed words ending in RE to ER, like meter, center, and theater, changed some C's to S's, like offense, defense, and license, and took U out of some unnecessary spellings like flavor, color, and vapor, because America hates you. Corny jokes aside, there are some other America versus everyone else spelling differences that Webster could be responsible for, like estrogen and curb, but a lot of English spelling that pre-existed the American Revolution stayed intact, so the system is still obsolete. Pronunciation from the 1600s is the source of many of English's problems. For example, the word night used to be pronounced something like nicht, but that has changed orally while the spelling didn't budge. Also, you'll have probably seen multiple Tumblr posts and memes otherwise about how, like, save and gave rhyme, but save and have don't, or stuff like that. That is because, historically, all words that are spelled like they rhyme did actually rhyme, but now they don't. There's really only one solution to this problem, and that is to update English spelling. But it's easier said than done. English is spoken in over 50 countries around the world, and in at least 15 of those countries, it's a primary language of everyday communication. There's at least some dialectal variety between and within all of these Anglophone countries, so every country would try to fit the revised writing system to its own pronunciation and no agreements would get done. That is, as long as we consider English to be one unified language. Languages and dialects change over time, getting farther away from each other with each new generation. This means that just like Proto-Germanic changed into the Germanic languages that we have today, English will eventually change into the languages of British, or languages of the constituent countries, future Irish, American, Canadian, Australian, New Zealand, and enter any other Anglophone demonyms here that exist. In the future, once the English dialects are no longer mutually intelligible, these independent languages will be in their place. When the shift is determined to be true, the writing can be re-standardized without as many shouting matches between diplomats, so each country can individually update how it spells words, and only then will English writing be easier. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, press the thumbs up button, and if you're intrigued by this kind of stuff, subscribe. I have many other linguistic video ideas that I can't wait to start producing. See ya.